This is Tales from the Pros, where business leaders and influencers share their stories of inspiration, struggles, and successes. And I'm your host, Michael Giorgio. Hey everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to Tales from the Pros, and this is Michael Giorgio, your host and co-founder of Motivational. Our unbelievable guest with me here today has inspired millions of people around the globe through his YouTube videos, books, famous TED Talks. He is also a global leader, influencer, and one of the most well-known motivational speakers and self-help authors around. Please welcome the amazing Sean Stephenson. Sean, thank you so much for being with me here today. I really appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know. We spoke before. I know you're crazy busy, and like I said, I'm really humbled and honored to have you on. So I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'm really appreciative of what you're doing for this planet.
Awesome. Thank you. So Sean, just to kind of kick things off, I've been following you a long time, and a lot of people, even in my company and just even my friends and family, have been following you. And it's crazy. I was even had the opportunity to even interview you. With all that being said, I love your content, and your messages they're just so inspirational, to say the least. And I just love how you talk about happiness and joy and just living a purpose-driven life. So kind of to kick things off, how did you really find your purpose, and kind of get you to where you are today?
So it's a evolution. I don't want to cause any misunderstanding for the listener that I just sought out my purpose and clearly found it under, the television one day and, and just put it on like a baseball cap and went out into the world. It was more like in stages, and I found my calling in terms of getting my voice out into the world when I was younger. As a speaker, I was asked to speak to a high school about what it's like to have a disability when I was younger. And then that grew from speaking to high schools to colleges to companies and hospitals and prisons. And it just kept going from there. And, the purpose side of it all has been honed by having really good mentors. I had a mentor about 7 years ago that sat me down and he said, "Sean, why were you born?" And he asked that question, "Why were you born?" probably close to a dozen times until I got to the root that I was born to help rid this world of insecurity, the very thing that I think causes a lot of our heartache and problems in life. And so I've been honing that. I continued to work on my purpose, and I'm finding that my purpose is expanding, that it's more than just being a speaker and a therapist and an author. It's now branching into comedy and movies and television and doing more to get my I would just say my energy and love and information out into the world, and not feel that it has to show up in one specific way and to one specific group.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So was it kind of like as you matured, you got older, did you kind of feel it just kind of happened? Some things just happen in life, or do you felt it was really like a destiny type thing?
I don't think it was any one particular thing. I think that there's certain elements of maybe destiny that is in play there. There's maybe some certain element of chance, but I also think that in my core, when I answer that intuitively, I think it was my pursuit as well, my desire to listen, because we all have callings that come from within to, how many people do you know that has an idea to invent something, but then they never go out and patent it, and then they see it a few years later and they're pissed off. Why didn't I do something about that idea? I had that great idea. And then they get upset. Well, we are all getting good ideas. We're all getting that calling from within to say, hey, you need to you need to create this project. You need to help this group of people. You need to be exploring this part of the world. We all get those internal callings, but not all of us have the the follow through to actually go do something on that calling. And I think my career and my life has been listening to the calling and stumbling and bumping my head and falling down continuously through the
Mhm.
process of going in the direction of where that calling is telling me to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I mean, it's pretty cool. You know, even like with me when I was younger, I was bullied for like 15 years, and not physically, but verbally bullied in school, and I was just never treated well. And even through college, man, it's crazy. And but I felt like with me when I listen to a lot of your content, it inspires me because when I feel like, man, how I found my purpose and really what makes me happy and what made me execute it is because a lot of what I went through in my life, I felt like it sounds crazy saying this, but because I was bullied and because of the things I went through, I felt like, man, for people to treat me that way, I'm doing something right. For me to be treated that way, it's like, man, I was just good to people and I was kind and I used that kindness and I used kind of the humility factor of it to enable me to start my business and that it's pretty cool. So I love what you're talking about, and I definitely see how I put myself in a lot of your audience's shoes, and I see how you're helping so many people, and that's pretty amazing, Sean. I really love it. So I know you talk about a lot about happiness, and you know with with that being said, happiness means something different to everybody else. So in your thoughts, what do you feel? What do you think happiness really means? How do you find happiness, or is it just
I
yeah?
think there's two kinds of happiness. I think there's happiness that is derived from a state of being, so like
Mhm.
meditation and spiritually connecting, like being present,
Yep,
brings an element of happiness. And then there's happiness that comes from doing, and
yep,
that's
yep.
actually like the pursuit of the dream, the pursuit of perfection, the pursuit, not perfection, but you know what I mean, the pursuit of bettering yourself, the pursuit of
Yeah,
growth, and
progress.
and yeah, progress, exactly. And I think it's important to have both types of happiness. You want that happiness that comes from, hey, you know what? I don't need to have any achievements to feel worthy of love, and I don't need anything other than just listening to my own uh, heartbeat and just breathing and listening to my own breathing and just being present. Like there's a level of happiness that comes from being, and then there's that happiness that comes from like, you know what? I'm going to get out of my bed. I'm going to go after my day. I'm going to write down my goals. I'm going to read my goals. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to pursue the difficult learnings so that I can better my mind, my body, my business, my world. I can better my world. And so those types of happiness, being and doing, I think that's how I see happiness. I don't see happiness as some kind of magic that eludes, that just kind of like shows up out of nowhere. I think it's either because you're being conscious about your being, you're being conscious about your doing, or you're being conscious, hopefully, about both.
So you really mean that what you really I'm interpreting what you're saying here is that it's really about being in the moment, like embracing the moment. So even the good times that we go, that happen in our lives and the struggle, the obstacles, I think just embrace it. Like you said, be in the moment. Because I've noticed that with me and that helps a lot. I'm sure you get that.
Sure. I mean, being mindful to what is actually occurring. I mean,
Yeah.
most people think that you can only be happy when good things are taking place, like when good things are happening to you, and that's actually not true. Uh,
I agree.
that you can actually be happy even during difficult times or times that others would say are horrible. Like if you ever attended a funeral, you know that if that person has a peer group and family that loved that person, the eulogy will usually make people laugh and smile, not just cry. Because even in the darkest of hours, like the loss of somebody we care about, there's still beauty present and there's still amazing experiences that we can embrace. So I think that being present, and also, don't get me wrong, I think that a lot of happiness can come from that progress and achievement. I am very meticulous about tracking my self care and my business care. And I gotta say, I get a ton of happiness out of checking off every single day when I've done something on my list that
Certain tasks.
I know needs to get done.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. It's always seeing. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That's why it's good to have. They say a lot of these people. A lot of I notice a lot of people say they'll put down. They'll have tasks in the morning for them to complete because it shows. Hey, like I finished these tasks, so it's like a sense of completion, like a sense of it's empowerment, right?
Absolutely. Yep, momentum.
Yeah. And I'm sure you get this a lot, right? And, I think you mentioned this briefly before that, everyone, I'm sure a lot of people, they see you seem like such a happy, purposeful man, and everyone thinks you're happy and living this amazing life. But what are kind of some of the biggest fears, Sean, that you had to overcome, or some of the fears that you even have?
Yeah, sure. So some of the fears that I had to overcome is that I would never find romantic love. That
Yeah.
haunted me for the first 30 years of my life.
Wow.
Um, I was in pursuit of it, but I think deep down inside I was scared. Well, what if this doesn't happen for me? What if I don't find that partner or that I get that love? That was a big fear I had to overcome, and the irony is I found the woman that I married when I finally made peace with living the rest of my life single. And that's how the magic of the universe works, is you can't fully have something until you've made peace with not having it. And that's, the
Yep.
Buddhists call it attachment, and attachment causes suffering, right? So there's that component. That was a big fear of mine, that I wouldn't find romantic love. I had a fear, uh, at times I would have fears that I wouldn't achieve a lot of business goals.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about business goals is, like, if you find the love of your life and you get into a relationship, you have to work at it. Same thing in business. Like, I'll set a goal, I'll achieve it, and I have this part of my being that says, I want something else. I want more. I am in pursuit of the next thing. And so sometimes it's the fear that we're not going to hit that number, or we're not going to get to that level in the business. And then we do. And I have a new goal. And so sometimes I'm driven sometimes by my fears that, like, well, what if we can't do this? And then I have to face that fear and make peace, just like I did with not finding love. I have to make peace with not hitting that business goal. And by
Yeah.
peace, I don't mean like giving up. It's just detaching. Some of my fears now, man, I work so hard on not letting my fears get to me. I think I have more insecurities than fears, and the difference is, a fear is a, a outcome that you don't want to have happen, right?
Yeah.
An insecurity is an aspect of who you are, what you have that you feel is not enough. And I struggle more with insecurities than fears.
Yeah. So sometimes you'll feel that you may not be enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I feel like,
Yeah.
I usually get into my insecurities when two things are happening. One, I am obsessing myself with other people's success. So I'll compare myself to somebody else in my
Yep.
industry, and
Very common.
and that will just weigh on me and grate on me, that I'll be like, oh man, I'm never going to be as aggressive as a Gary Vaynerchuk or a Tony Robbins, or I'll
Yeah.
never be as popular as a Wayne Dyer or a Deepak Chopra. And then what's ridiculous about that is that I don't need to be anybody but myself. And that's what we all have to remind ourselves of, is you don't need to be anyone else but you, and you need to just be the best version of you. I was listening to an audio just yesterday when I was working out by Jim Rohn, the late Jim Rohn. He said it doesn't matter whether you make 100,000, 10,000, or $1 million a year. If that's your max and you did your best to get it, that's amazing. And the challenge that you can get in is you can start beating yourself up by saying, well, I don't have all my goals achieved yet, so therefore I'm a loser, or therefore I'm not, you know, persistent enough, or I'm not smart enough. And when you start getting into that trap, it really can start robbing you of energy. And so that's one of the things that I do is I'll get into obsessing with comparing myself to others. So I got to knock that off at times. And then the second thing is it's when I'm not clear on doing the best with my physical presence. When I am not on top of my health and fitness, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I begin to slip into all kinds of negative, darker, internal, uh, insecure voices that tell me I'm not good enough. And when I am in great shape and I am taking great care of my body, I find that I have so much more power over those voices.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean you definitely hit the spot, man, in regards to like insecurity. I think all that kind of comes together with becoming a happier person is just kind of worrying about yourself. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. Obviously it's good to care for others, but what I mean is like exactly what you said is not comparing yourself because everyone's got different struggles. You don't know everyone else's story. That's what at least that's what I tell myself when I compare myself to others, and I'm probably everyone around the world does the same thing, is comparing. And I think when I stop doing that, I'm like, you know what? I'm happy with what I've done. You got to kind of, take a deep breath and think like, man, I'm thankful. Like I'm doing good for myself and I'm doing the best that I can. Now, I've listened to a lot of your content talking about like even just, work ethic is huge, I think. And when you're not working hard and not doing your best, that can probably lead to not being a happy person. What are your thoughts on that in terms of like work ethic and doing the best that you can in your life?
Yeah, so when it comes to work ethic, I find that if you're not, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm paid to be, I guess. If you're not tracking the different things in your life. You're not tracking your income. You're not tracking your workouts. You're not tracking your journaling. You're not tracking your prayer and meditation. You're not tracking the time you spend with your family and your friends. If you're not tracking, then you're not developing a record to see where are you slipping, where do you need help. And so you can just feel so overwhelmed like, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong or what I'm not doing right, and then you don't even know where to begin. When you start tracking, there's a great quote that says, "What you track improves," and it's true because you see the data and you can't
Yeah.
deny the data. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I'm going to, that in the month of April, I only worked out one day. And I look back at that because I had tracked that I only worked out one day in the month of April. And I was like, holy cow, I thought I worked out at least 7 to 10 days. But the brain will do everything to try to not make you the bad guy. And like there's this great book that I started, it's called Mistakes Were Made But Not by Me. And it's all about self deception. And when you're not tracking something, it's easy to start deceiving yourself. And when you deceive yourself, then you can get off track tremendously. So I think for me, it's about tracking my progress. That's what helps with my work ethic because I can see, like, oh, wow, I worked out 12 of the last 12 days. That's awesome. Or I can see, wow, like, I have collected money on 8 out of the last 9 days for my business, so we're doing good. And like, if you can start to track things, that can develop your work ethic to get better and better. But if you're not tracking, then you don't even know if you have a good work ethic, and you don't even know where you need support.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful. Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. Actually, tracking my even just personal activities, not just work. I tend to track. It seems like a lot of us track things that make us money and business and things like that, but you actually got to track the things that are probably even more important,
Your
right? And
health, your
your
family, yeah, absolutely. So
yep.
I have something that I'm going to be making a product out of next year. And right now, what I'm doing is I am spending the entire year of 2018 tracking every major important area of my life, um,
Wow.
in business and in personal. And I'm collecting the data to show people that look at how my life got better when I improved these categories. And I'm building this whole system to show people how you can track it in a way that's fun. Because in the beginning, people are like, oh, I don't have the discipline to do that. And I'm like, no, no, here's the thing. You say you don't have the discipline to do that because you've never done it before. If you start doing it, it becomes really intoxicating. It's fun.
Like a
It's
habit.
really great. Like people love the metrics of their business, but it's really cool to know the metrics of your life. I score every single day at the end of the day what my overall mood 0 to 10 is. And I can tell that on the days that I did more on my trackable list, I almost always have a better mood by the end of the day. Now, there are some exceptions, but I've noticed even trends in my month. I can see the months that I'm have a lower average mood score. It's because I did less of my trackable items.
Wow, that's awesome. And you think like even with a lot of the new technology trends coming out, I mean, artificial intelligence. I'm sure you hear that. It's like the new word right now, the new technology. But even though it's been around for longer than a lot of people think, with AI, so you think with a lot of artificial intelligence will even that will help with kind of you building that app, right? I would think getting that data.
Yeah, well, because artificial intelligence and other different elements of technology, what'll be great is you can have a virtual coach, and the virtual coach can find the data and say, look, the reason why you're not sleeping well, because I track my sleeping, the reason why you're not sleeping well, Sean, is because you didn't hydrate and you didn't exercise in the last 4 days. So your body is struggling to try to repair itself with improper resources at night, and that's why your sleep is off. And your sleep is off is why your mood is lower, and the reason why your business is struggling because you're going in with a lower mood into your sales conversations. You're not as inspiring, you're not as excited, you're not as motivated, so therefore people aren't as drawn to you, so therefore they don't want to work with you. So your income is down because of this, this, and this. So we got to get your hydration and we got to get your exercise back up,
Yeah.
Sean. And it can all be done through AI and other means of
No,
technology.
absolutely. And you always hear, Sean, about at least for me. I have a lot of friends that they're always so scared when you talk about AI. They're so scared of it. They're like, "Oh, it's going to take jobs," and I'm like, guys, I'm like, listen, like, you know how much value AI is going to have if the people that are build these products that are actually going to help. And now, if people, it always comes down to the people that are building the products and their motives and intentions behind it and so on. But that's kind of a different discussion. But I mean, with a lot of AI coming out, I mean, you hear all these amazing ideas that are going to provide so much value and helping people. Just like what you said, Sean, I love it because before when you were talking about kind of creating like when you're talking about this idea, I was thinking, man, Sean needs to build like an application or something. That's awesome. It seems like you're building this product, so that's amazing,
Yep.
man.
Well, and let me comment and piggyback off of what you just said about people's fears of technology like AI. The issue is throughout all forms of technology, throughout all of the human species' existence, there's been groups of people that have been
Yeah,
afraid, and that is common. Don't get me wrong. The first time somebody consciously made a spark and put it into kindling and built fire, tell me they weren't afraid. Tell me wasn't a group of people that are like, this is going to be used to burn people alive. and has fire been used to burn people alive? Yeah, but I think it's also been used to cook a lot of food. I think it's also been used to keep a lot of people warm. And so there's that, right? When you look at things like electricity, oh my God, people are going to be able to use this to electrocute us. And it's like, yeah, okay, we have had people get electrocuted in human history, but haven't we also had power grids that allowed amazing things to come about because of electronics? People will say, oh, the airplane, oh my goodness, this is going to make us such a difference because now people are just going to be able to fly in and invade our country without giving us warning. Yeah, have we had airplanes fly in and invade countries? Have we had bombs drop because of airplanes? Yes. However, haven't we had far more people been able to travel from one side of the world to the other to see their family and hold their grandchildren? Yeah, every single technology throughout human history has been used for bad, and yet the overwhelming, I believe, the overwhelming sense is that it's usually used for the good because I've met a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people I've met in person. I've met millions online through my work, but I gotta say, the majority of human beings want to do
Yeah.
good, want to help each other, want to be loved and receive love. And so I'm going to always bet on that. And does that mean that there's still going to be problems? Of
Yeah.
course. Look, for years, Terminator 2 was my favorite movie. Do I have a little tiny little, twinge at night maybe that like what if Judgment Day is coming and, the droids are coming? Yeah, sure that could happen and I'm sure in aspects it might happen. But you know what? How can we ever advance as a society if we don't do anything because we're afraid of what could happen?
Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think it's always, it's always a little scary sometimes when there's a big change in technology or change in general globally. But I think people are just going to adapt, and I think there's going to be a lot of great coming out of it. I completely agree. And some people I've even interviewed on the podcast said the exact same thing, that it's gonna there's going to be a lot of amazing things happening. So that's awesome. And
Do you know?
yeah,
Do you do you know what the number one fear a few hundred years ago of city planners? Their number one fear was we are going to have too much horse poop because the number of the population riding horses, there's going to be so much horse poop, we're not going to be able to remove all the horse poop. I'm going to ask you, did you have any fear this morning about horse poop?
no,
No, no, because it seems ridiculous, right? But yet, hundreds of years ago, when the only transportation was horseback, that was their number one fear.
crazy. Wow. Yeah, that's I definitely don't think about that when I wake up. So Sean, like to jump a little bit here, so in regards to like, you get to this point of success in your life and speaking around the world, inspiring lots of people, you definitely went, I'm sure you went through a lot, and overcoming adversity and living, I think overcoming adversity is huge, at least for your business, because building a business, as you know, is tough and it's a struggle. But the more you overcome adversity, you're closer to reaching your goals. At least for what I believe, perseverance plays a huge role. So, what were some of your kind of biggest challenges, not just in business but in personal life, other than anything physical?
So, in business, you're asking?
Yeah, business first. You can touch on personal if you'd like.
Yeah, biggest challenges in business? Figuring out how to get my message out there. Learning about how to develop the visibility. But business and personal, the greatest challenge is always getting myself to continue to stay on course and see the vision. Because the moment you start to worry, like, well, why are they gonna why are they going to care about my speech or my book or my program any more than anybody else? And then that can kick on your insecurities, and then you can want to quit, right? So
Yeah,
that's always a possible uh, reality that you're dealing with in business. One of the challenges that I faced was people would look at me and they would assume that I could only talk about what it's like to have a disability and kind of pigeonhole me into he's the disabled
Uh,
speaker. He can only talk about disabilities. And, I remember I met with a bunch of producers for a television show that I had years ago. And they were like, well, I don't think we'll be able to pitch this to the network because the only reason why you've been able to develop your success is because of your disability. Things have been handed to you.
wow.
And I was like, holy shit, do you really believe
Um,
that? Do you think things were handed to me? If anything, I had to work
yeah.
harder because people had these preconceived notions of me. When I worked to get my book published for 3 years, I had three different literary agents, and the literary agent takes your manuscript out and tries to sell it to the publisher. And the first one quit because he was like, "Look, I've tried every single publisher; they all said no." Then I just gave up for a full year. I thought it wasn't going to happen. Then I met another literary agent. And they're like, "Hey, I think I can sell this. Let me have a chance at this."
Mhm.
So then I was like, "Okay, I'll go back out there. Maybe I just didn't have a good luck." And then the second literary agent quit because they were like, I couldn't sell this. And now I had two literary agents and all these publishers saying no. One publisher said, we don't think the general buying populace think we don't think that they'll be able to relate to a little man in a wheelchair. We think that your material is not going to be relevant to them. And I'm like, holy shit, are you serious? You really believe that people can't relate to me? I'm a human being. Just because I happen to be in a container that's a little, shrunken down in comparison, that doesn't mean that people can't relate to me.
Wow.
So I got discouraged, but I got back out there. And after the third year, third literary agent, finally, a publisher said, we would love this. And what's hilarious, and my literary agent doesn't like me talking about this because she thinks it doesn't make us look as
Mm.
saleable, but I don't care, is because people need to hear this, is the same publisher that turned us down for 2 years in a row was the same one that thought it was a brilliant idea and bought the publishing rights just because it was a new person in that position, and a new person was able to see the angle and see the value. And let me tell you, we've had that book now in print for going on 10 years. It's in 12 different languages. It's an international best-selling book. And yet it got turned down all those times, all those people. And it was so easy for me to want to say, you know what? I can't do this. They're right. Nobody's going to be able to relate to a little man in a wheelchair. And yet I just kept going. A big part of success is just keep going.
Like I mentioned before, perseverance, right?
Absolutely. And it's not sexy. Look, that's why my literary agent begs me not to tell the story because they're like, Sean, what happens when we want to do another book deal and everybody hears that you got turned down? I'm like, so what? You know what? Like, I want the kind of person that can handle the authenticity of the truth.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, I don't know how people don't think that is sexy. I think it is sexy because it, it just shows like you don't quit. It's a you have a fight.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, you don't have to be a Kardashian or a Justin Bieber to to have influence. Like what you did was, I mean, for one thing, is I don't understand how people could be so cruel and say those kinds of things. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just, oh man, it's crazy how people can be like that. I just don't understand it. But wow,
So here's something I wrote in my journal, and it's a very vulnerable for me to share it, but the internal dialogue inside of all of us can be very negative at times. And I believe that if we talk to our friends the way we often talk to ourselves, we wouldn't have any friends.
yeah,
This is why I consciously work hard at saying good things to myself. I just recently wrote this journal entry, and I was going through a time where I was like, man, I want a good boost. So I wrote down some of the things that I needed to acknowledge in myself. And it's going to sound braggadocious, but it's with an intent of I'm really proud of these areas of my life. Do you care if I share?
Absolutely. No, go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah.
So I said, Sean, well, I said he, meaning myself, he
Yeah.
manifests things magically. He believes in the big picture, but is also willing to look at the little details. He puts efforts into his friendships. He never gives up on himself. He is a skilled comedian and speaker. He shares his vulnerabilities with the world. He is open to radically forgiving himself and others. He really has great consideration for other people's feelings and his own. He does the internal work and is willing to face his shadow. And, you know, if all of us had to journal every single thing in our lives that we are proud of and then read that, we wouldn't need as many pharmaceuticals and as many therapists and as many of these things in the self help world that I'm a part of. You know, I personally believe that most of my clients wouldn't need me if they just did this one simple thing: write their feelings, their thoughts, their fears, their desires in their journal every single day. Get them out of your head, get them down on paper, and then review them and learn from yourself. Learning from yourself is huge because you have to see, where have you been stuck? Where have you been deceiving yourself? Where have you been afraid?
Wow. Yeah, I love it. Love it. It's I think it helps a lot when you write things down, doesn't it? It's like it triggers a part of the brain, and you actually it seems like you follow through with a lot of things that you write down.
Yeah, because thoughts are invisible, right? A
Right.
thought, you can have a thought, a belief is invisible, but when you start to write it down, sometimes people don't have the conscious courage to do this, but it would heal them so greatly. Is admit where you are hard on yourself and what you believe about yourself. And first you have to just get it out on paper and say, like, holy shit, like I believe that I'm worthless. I believe that I'm not good. But then you have to balance it out and say, but what else do I believe that's the opposite of this? Aren't there days where I believe I'm unstoppable? Aren't there days where I believe that I am capable of things beyond my own imagination uh, power? You know, like when you're writing things down and you see it in black and white, you can't deny it anymore.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. That's great stuff, man. Yeah, and I think that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps me when I write things down, for sure. And if you hear a lot of the most successful CEOs, they're still writing stuff down. They don't even have their secretaries and their executive assistants write a lot of the tasks. They still write themselves, and they follow it every day. But
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
it's important to do the personal, like what you said. It's not just business. More important is your personal, because your the personal stuff affects your business.
absolutely. You know, nobody can do your push ups for you. Nobody can do the journaling internal work. Nobody can love your children the way you can love your children. Like, you have to do certain things. You can't outsource everything.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and this is a question actually that I didn't have planned to ask this, and it kind of came to me. But when before we talked a little bit about living a purpose driven life and being happy, do you think, Sean, that those are connected, or do you think they kind of serve different purposes?
I think you can be happy and not necessarily on your purpose. And I think you could be on your purpose and not necessarily happy. I see purpose as more fuel to get you out of bed. But I know a lot of people that are very purpose driven, but
Right.
they're not taking great care of themselves. You know, I look at it this way. I'll tell you my unstoppable formula.
Yeah. Tell
There's
me. Yeah.
three there are three parts. Number one, you have to have impeccable self care. Impeccable self care. That's what we've been talking about this through this whole interview, about tracking your personal and professional areas. So you got to have
Hmm.
impeccable self care so that you can overcome your insecurities. The second thing is you have to be aligned with your life purpose, is what you're talking about. And when you're aligned with your life purpose, you get God's caffeine. You get a bolt of electricity that gets you out of bed to go after doing something bigger than you in your
Right.
life. But then the third and final stage, if you do those first two, that's still not enough. The last one is your environment, the environment that you keep. If you are not keeping an incredibly empowering environment, you're going to fail. You're going to, and I don't mean fail like not hit the mark. You're going to be in pain and suffer and have to go uphill and hurt through the whole existence. Your environment is based on how who you hang out with, who you seek to get advice from, what books and music you're listening to, where you live, how you keep your living and professional space. Your environment is so critical because you are absorbing it every single day. When you're in the environment, you become the environment. You want to be mega wealthy, you need to not hang out with broke people. You want to be super healthy, you can't hang out with people who are out of shape. You want to be super spiritual and connected, enlightened, you can't hang out with people that complain and chronically pick people apart and are defensive. You have to get the environment right first. It's like getting into a bathtub that is filled with mud and thinking you're going to come out clean. It ain't going to happen. You
Yeah.
need you need to have an environment that empowers you. If you can do those three things, I think happiness is inevitable.
You really are who you hang out with.
You're more than that. You
Is
are who
that,
you are who you hang out with. You are who you look up to. You are so much of your environment. And look, willpower, as my good buddy Ben Hardy says in his book, willpower doesn't work. And it's true because willpower doesn't last. It's a volatile fuel that burns quickly and runs out fast. You want a sustainable sense of energy in your life. And that's going to be far more than just trying to will yourself. It's about setting yourself up to win. As my mentor, Eben Pagan, says, you need planned inevitability where your whole life is set up so that if you just do what you have set up, you will eventually, it's inevitable, get what you want. You know, if you schedule things in a way that you can't back out, you throw your hat over the fence, there's no going back.
yeah. And are you, so you're very, it seems, Sean, that you're incredibly, if I'm correct here, self-aware. Is that right? So you're very self-aware. So if you feel that you enter a room that you can kind of feel the negative energy. Do you ever get that, or is that just me? I feel like when I enter a room sometimes, uh, I, I can feel like, all right, I shouldn't be here. I don't feel good here. Like I just the way people are talking around me, and I just don't feel. Maybe they're not like me, or maybe is it? Do you feel that's like your spirit? That's your senses. Do you agree with that as well?
Well, there's two answers to that come up for me. One is I've certainly had moments where I felt that absolutely, but then and that's where when you're in the environment, you become the environment because it takes um, it takes a lot of energy to shift a room of people. And there's this thing called entrainment that I learned from Mindy, my wife. And that is that when you have like a wall full of cuckoo clocks, right, with the pendulum, um, do you know that they eventually will all go into unison? They will all go into entrainment. They will all go into the same swing of pendulum. But here's what's fascinating is that they will all go into unison to whatever pendulum swung the strongest. And so I do believe that we can have powerful influence over the rooms we go into. And if we are willing to muster up the energy to be the most positive person in that room, and we can maintain that the longest, then the others can follow suit. But here's the issue with that: you only have so much energy. And do you want to spend all of your energy trying to get everyone around you that doesn't want to be happy with you, when you might have tons of people on this planet who are begging and pleading for your support and help that you're ignoring, that would love to swing a positive pendulum with you, but you're ignoring them because you keep fixating on that one or five people that are negative, that you think you're going to be the entrainment, you're going to be the strongest pendulum. You know, there is both of those sides to it. It's like, yes, you can influence people and you can be the strongest positive influence in the room, but you only have so much energy, and you have to ask yourself, is it worth the
Mm-hmm.
expenditure of the energy? I love the motto of the Coast Guard. And to the best of my abilities, this is what I believe to be true, is the Coast Guard has a motto that when they come upon a shipwreck and they only have so many seats and so much energy to get people out of the water, they have to choose who is going to live and die. And that is a horrible, horrible experience. But
Yeah.
the way they go about their selection process is they save the ones who swim toward them.
Interesting. Well, I didn't know
They
that.
they can't spend their energy saving those who aren't swimming toward them but are swimming away or don't want to swim at all. and and that's why, like, it's a great metaphor, whether it's 100% verified true. But what I love about the metaphor is you can only support those in your life that are swimming toward you, that aren't just saying they want your help, that are showing they want your help. They're doing the things that you're telling them to do. I hear this a lot where people are like, no, I want to be in shape, I want more money, I want love. And I'm like, okay, cool, then do this, this, and this. And they're like, no, but I don't want to do that. I just want the outcome. I don't want to take the steps. I don't want to swim.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do the work. Well, if you're not willing to swim to me, I can't help you.
Man, I want to use that. Is there like a book written about that or something? I want to use that.
So I heard it in a movie once, and I was so moved by it, that I was like, man, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's such a powerful metaphor that
Yeah.
the metaphor itself is gorgeous.
Yeah, it just shows you a lot of people, they want all these things, but they're not willing to make the sacrifice. They're not willing to put in the work. You get a lot, and I hate to say this because I've helped a lot of startups in my company with build apps and all this kind of things for startups, and I've noticed a lot of them, they have these high expectations. They have this instant gratification. They want results quickly, 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 but they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to make the sacrifices. I'm like, guys, you gotta put in. It's not about putting in 10, 15, 16 hours a day, but you got to be putting in the work. You just it's just what it takes.
Well, I think
You know?
you have to also make it fun, because
Absolutely.
because if something's not fun to me, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I got to make it fun. I got to turn it into a. That's what they talk about, gamification. It's a
Mhm.
gamification. The way I perceive it is making mundane tasks enjoyable and fun because you see progress.
Right. Right. So, Sean, you've spoken around the world. I've heard a lot of your TED talks, and there was a one that was really famous. Is the what was the one? Prison, Prison of the Mind.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that one. That was awesome, and that was in front of such a large audience. Like, what do you do for you speaking around the world, all these big events? Like, what do you do? What does it take for you to engage with the audience on such an emotional level? Because, and this kind of goes back to the previous question, right? In terms of you get this energy from people and you feel the environment. You're very choosy of the events that you go to because you want to make sure that you have a connection with the audience, or do you connect with them there?
Well, if there's humans in the room, I know I'm going to be okay. And so, whether I'm speaking at a maximum security prison or I'm speaking to a high school, sometimes you can't tell the difference. It's like it doesn't matter where you go. you have to prepare yourself energetically before you go in there. And so I spend a lot of time preparing my mind and my heart for the issues that are going to be invisible that are in the room. The person that has been hurt, the person that is dealing with emotional scar tissue, things that are, I visualize the different types of pain that could be present in my audience, and I visualize connecting to their pain and being a beacon of light to hopefully have them move away from that and go toward a healing set of beliefs and behaviors. And so it's taken years for me to develop that stage presence, that when I take the stage, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I know that if there's humans listening, I'm going to hopefully be a beacon that they are going to be willing to swim toward.
Hmm. Do you ever get nervous before you talk?
Um, I don't get nervous in the way most people refer to public speaking nerves. I sometimes will get overwhelmed because I have so many things that I might want to achieve while I'm up on that stage, so many different stories that I might want to tell or points that I want to come across. And then my anxious energy sometimes comes from paring down, because what am I not going to say, right? Because there's so much that I
Right.
want to cover, so much ground. I don't get nervous of like, well, what if I make a mistake, or what if they don't like me? Like those I've been doing this for 23 years, so those days are behind me. Sometimes I'll get a little nervous if I'm speaking at an event and the event host is like a really good friend of mine, and I want to do a phenomenal job because I don't want to let my friend down. Sometimes I'll get a little bit of nerves with that, but the majority of the time, nerves don't show up anymore in my life on stage.
Yeah. So just through a lot of experience. So when you did start speaking, though, I'm sure you got pretty nervous. When I speak, sometimes it's like a weird thing. I don't get nervous because I don't feel confident. It's just that I feel nervous just because I guess I put the pressure on myself. I don't want to mess up and things like that. But as long as I know the content and I'm passionate about it, I'm fine. It's more like an adrenaline type thing.
Yeah, when I was younger, I really didn't have even that much stage fright or fear of public speaking, because I felt my internal belief was, being 3 feet tall and in a wheelchair, I had been stared at my whole life. I felt like I was always on stage. And so, I
Mhm.
would go to the mall or to the grocery store and be stared at. So my mentality was, it's about time I start getting paid for it, and and so
Yeah.
for me, I
Yeah.
didn't experience that much nerves around speaking.
Yeah. And I'm sure that played a big role in building your personal brand, right? I mean, you're well known on social media. I mean, you have a lot of followers and just a huge community of people around the world that follow you. So I'm sure the speaking helped you. Did you have like a certain like approach, Sean, or a business strategy that you had to implement and execute in order for you to build your personal brand, or you think it was through just years and years of consistent just consistent messages and content, or was it where you think it was that you were unique in a sense, or you think what do you have a specific strategy that anyone can kind of follow?
Well, to out myself, I've never been one in the past. I've started it later in life as I've gotten older, but when I started, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was not business savvy. I was not raised by entrepreneurs. I Until this year, I don't think I could ever spell entrepreneur. So, like, we're making progress, but I can say
Yeah.
that I didn't really have a specific strategy or system, but I did have a calling. And the calling was, I need to get out in front of as many people as possible while I'm here on this planet. And I want to be an example to them of what's possible with their own life. And so I was constantly moving forward to say, well, what groups, what areas? And then when the internet got popular, because when I started, the internet didn't exist really. I mean, I'm sure
Mhm.
23 years ago it probably started just amongst the military and government and stuff, but it really didn't get popular, I don't think, with social media and everything until maybe like the last 10 to 15 years. And I really latched on to YouTube and Facebook because I knew it was a way for me to show up in front of a camera and be broadcasted with no filters in between. No network telling me what I needed to say, no producer or director or advertiser telling me how I needed to do it. I could go straight to direct to the consumer of the information. And I loved that. And I've always loved how never before in our history have we been able to get rid of all the middle people telling us what to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, it seems like you got in early with, like you said, YouTube and Facebook, and just really leveraged the platforms, and you found that video probably helped you a lot, or was it just, like I said before, was it just that you had this unique story and people just engaged with it and they related to it, or you think, I mean, I was just wondering if there was a specific with influencers such as yourself, with such a big community of followers around the world, is there like a certain process to follow, or you think it's just a lot of it is just consistency, trial and
Yeah, I
error?
would say you said it right then, consistency, because when people see my videos and they'll see the viral ones, the ones that like my TED Talk has like 3.1 million views. I have a
Crazy.
video of me holding up post-it notes that have been seen by 71 no about 70.2 million people. Um,
Right,
these videos that I probably have over a dozen videos that have over 1 million views. And you see all those and go, oh, wow, 70 million, 3 million, 10 million. And you don't see the hundreds of videos that have like 100 following or viewing, 5,000 viewing, 10,000, 600. Like you didn't see that I had to put out tons and tons and tons and tons of content to have
right,
those finally catch on. It's like when you see somebody and they have the trappings of success, they have all the things that are sexy, and you go, oh man, I'd love to have that. But are you willing to do? Like I love Gary Vaynerchuk has this video that I saw a couple years ago, and he's like, everybody loves how popular I am now, but do you realize when I put out my wine library TV videos, uh,
yes, I was just going to say
yeah,
that.
he's like, I did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And nobody, I mean, people thought I was crazy because they'd have like 5 views, 20 views, 100 views. And, now Gary puts out a book and it becomes a bestseller the first day it hits the market.
I
But,
know.
and that's awesome because he laid the groundwork. He built up the consistency. It's no different than when you see somebody in great shape and they have bulging muscles and very cut, defined physique. They didn't just work out this morning. They've been doing it
Oh no.
consistently. When you see a great marriage and you see a couple happily in love and in great communication, they didn't just meet today. They had worked through difficult times. When you see a business and it's humming, it didn't open this morning, And so you have to be willing to get excited about the consistency of it. And let me tell you, I have so much more to go. There's so many things that I am not doing that need to be done that I am in pursuit of, but I can tell you that I'm a work in progress. Everybody is a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's great. I was just gonna say about the Gary Vaynerchuk, because I mean he's I definitely follow him and he's awesome. I love his stuff, and he talks about same thing, just like what you said. Talks about he's popular now, but people didn't see the hundreds and hundreds of videos for years, and a lot of them got just some of them. I think he even said he was making fun of himself. He's like, yeah, one of them got like 50 views or something. It's crazy. He's like, but it just he stuck with it. You got to really enjoy the journey, not just look at the destination. I mean, is there really a destination? If you have a destination, there's going to be another destination. So you might as well, like you said, do something that you love, be passionate about it, and try to have the right motive for what you're doing. Don't just do it to make money. Do it to provide value to help others. At least that's what I believe. And I feel like you're gonna live a pretty decently good life.
Absolutely.
And I think,
and that's why I'm grateful that podcasts like yours exist and that you bring people out in front of your audience, because it's just about hearing things over and over and over until they become a part of your being. And so I'm grateful for being able to be on this program. So thank you.
no, absolutely. And you know what's crazy, man, is that one guy, so I do a lot of salsa dancing, and one guy said to me, he said, this is before I started the podcast, I was like planning stages, and he said, Mike, I don't know. He's like, it's too cluttered. Podcast. He's like, is yours really you think yours is you're gonna get a lot of views? It's gonna be successful? I was like, man, I said, I'm gonna do it anyways because I want to do it. I'm not, I'm not looking to get thousands of downloads because I know that takes time. I have realistic expectations. I love the journey. I'm blessed to be able to interview people like you. You're episode 17 for crying out loud. And it's an honor to have people like you on here to share raw, honest, real content. And I know even if this reaches a few hundred people, hey, I can sleep at night.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me on, bud.
Absolutely. So just to kind of close things out, just last final question. I think you probably need to go soon, right?
I do.
Okay. How would you define I call it the three hows, Sean? So how would you define failure, entrepreneurship, and success in the quickest way possible?
Failure is giving up and not getting back up. Entrepreneurship is about taking an idea of that's burning from within that is going to better the world, and seeing to it that it gets completed and put into the marketplace, and that you create value for others in exchange for their money. And what was the last one? Success. I think success is fulfillment. It's about doing things that make you happy, but also are sustainably making you better.
Perfect. Sounds good, man. I really appreciate it. Where can everyone find you, Sean?
They can go to SeanStephenson.com. If they want to check out my podcast, they can go to the SeanStevensonShow.com. They can find me on social media, and you just type my name into Google. You'll have lots of options.
Amazing. Sean, thank you again so much. I'm humbled. I'm honored. Thank you again. And everyone, this is Michael Giorgio, your host from Tales from the Pros. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Bud. Hey, guys. Thanks a lot for watching Tales from the Pros. Please subscribe to our YouTube page and also follow our social media. There are links somewhere around here. But we really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all the support. And I'm going to be giving you awesome content continuously. And we look forward to seeing you soon.